ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦਿਸ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਆਫ ਦ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ੋ। ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਇੰਸਟੀਚਿਊਟ ਆਫ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ ਨਿਊ ਵੈਸਟਮਿੰਸਟਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਕਸਕਲੂਸਿਵਲੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਫ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਜੇਸਨ ਕੈਨੀ ਨਾਲ। ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਜੇਸਨ ਕੈਨੀ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਫਵਾਹਾਂ ਫੈਲਾਈਆਂ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੁਝ ਚੰਗਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਆਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਗਲਤ ਹੈ। ਤੱਥਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਧਾਰ 'ਤੇ ਜੇਕਰ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਾਏ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟਸ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਲਿਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਰਿਫਾਰਮਸ ਲਿਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨਸ ਦੀ ਬਿਹਤਰੀ ਲਈ ਲਿਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਆਓ ਜੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। Minister, these changes which have been brought into the immigration system, what is the basic reason behind all the drastic changes which you are bringing, and what do you think that impact it will have on the Canadian system?
An extremely positive impact. Our immigration system had become dysfunctional. 8-year wait times in all of our programs, 1 million people waiting, declining employment for newcomers, too many people stuck in survival jobs rather than working at their skill level in an economy with labor shortages. It made no sense at all. And so we needed significant, positive, bold reforms to have a fast and flexible, smart immigration system that actually attracts people who can fill the unfilled jobs in Canada so they can work at their skill level. We want engineers who immigrate to Canada working as engineers, not as cab drivers and corner store clerks. We want the unfilled construction skilled trade jobs being filled by newcomers rather than immigrants being unemployed. We want an immigration system where new applicants arrive in a few months after their application rather than 8 or 9 years. So these are dramatically important reforms for the future of the country.
And as you say, the impact is going to be positive, but has there been any sign of that positivity? Can you see that into the system?
Oh, yes.
Because the opposition is claiming and saying that the new reforms which are being introduced, they are targeting specific communities, and also it's going to have a negative impact in the future.
Well, we don't target for or against any community or country of origin. Our system is neutral in terms of country, culture of origin. About 49% of our immigrants come from Asia. You know, every year there will be some minor variations, but I don't imagine it will change significantly. But the question is, are the people who arrive in Canada from wherever they come going to be able to actually work at their skill level, and will they be able to come quickly so that we can connect the immigrants with the jobs that are available? So in terms of criticism from the opposition, frankly, they're not offering any alternatives. They're not. I mean, there's just no... Let me be absolutely blunt about this. If we had not taken some of these actions, if we had followed the policy of the opposition parties, the total backlog of people waiting for a decision on their application in our immigration system would today be 1.6 million people, as opposed to 630,000 people. The wait times would be going now up towards, on average, 12 years, as opposed to going down towards 2 years. So, you know, it's easy to sit on the sidelines and criticize, but quite frankly, and he'll give you another example, marriage fraud. I've been criticized by the Liberals and NDP for cracking down on fraudulent immigration marriages with the 2-year conditional status for new sponsored spouses and the 5-year bar on their ability to sponsor people from abroad. But this idea didn't come from me, didn't come from my bureaucrats, didn't come from the Conservative Party. It came from the South Asian community, who said they were outraged with the cheapening of marriage and the violation of our immigration system and the victims of fraud marriages. So this is an example of where I took action on anti-human smuggling, fixing our broken refugee asylum system. These things all were ideas massively supported by the immigrant community. So I quite frankly think that my friends in the opposition parties are stuck in some old consensus from 15 years ago, and they're just afraid of change because they have a condescending attitude towards many newcomers who they do not understand want what's in the best interests of Canada.
Recently you were to India, and over there you visited Chandigarh also. And again, here again the opposition has been claiming that the number of visas from Chandigarh have been declining, and especially the parents and the grandparents clause which they are talking about, and they're it's kind of creating a hype in the community that the conservatives are, throttling, and they're just kind of wanting to stop the immigration from India, especially from Punjab. So during your visit, what is your observation and what have you to tell about that?
Well, all of those things you've suggested from the opposition are the opposite of the truth. The number of visitor visas issued by Immigration Canada in Chandakar has tripled in the past 6 years. Mm-hmm. In 2005, Immigration Canada issued 5,600 visas for Punjabis, mm-hmm. for visitor visas, work permits, and study permits.
Right.
Last year, we issued 17,600. Mm-hmm. So the number of visitor visa issued has tripled. The acceptance rate mm-hmm. for those visas has gone from 34% before we came to office mm-hmm. to 54% last year. Okay. That's in part because we're having more success in cracking down on fraudulent immigration consultants. But also, in terms of permanent residents, last year we admitted 32,000 permanent residents from India. India was the second highest immigration source country. That's the long-term average coming from India. And last year we issued more visas for sponsored parents than I think any year in the history of our immigration system. We issued 32,000 visas, permanent resident visas, okay. for sponsored parents from Punjab, mm-hmm. From India, from around the world, 32,000 mm-hmm. around the world, including, and then in addition we have the new super visa, 10-year multiple entry visa, for which we issued 13,000 worldwide, including 3,200 out of Chandakar for Punjab. Mm-hmm. So last year, more parents came to Canada from India and globally than ever before in our history. So all of these things that they're saying are the opposite of the truth.
Right. And also, yesterday Bob Ray said that Mr. Kenney is coming out with knee-jerk reactions to what happens, and he said about, especially your latest information which you gave about convicted terrorists, they should be stripped of the citizenship. Yes. So when you're coming up with these kind of policies, and of course, don't you feel that initially it is great that people are coming up forward and talking, yes, it's good, we should have a safe system, but what about the legal ramifications of that? Have you kept that in mind?
So first of all, this bill was proposed by my colleague Devinder Shori, mm-hmm. who is of Punjabi origin himself, came to Canada, he proposed this bill 9 months ago.
Right.
Before the recent incidents mm-hmm. Came to light of Canadian citizens involved in terrorist acts abroad. So there's nothing knee-jerk about it.
Right.
Devinder Shori was affected by terrorism when he lived in India. Mm-hmm. He has no tolerance, like most immigrants, for terrorism. He does not believe that the Canadian passport should be used by terrorists as a flag of convenience, especially if they're dual citizens and they carry citizenship in another country, like, for example, Lebanon in the case of the Hezbollah terrorist. So this is Mr. Shori's approach, coming from his own immigrant experience. I agree with him, mm-hmm. and I'm absolutely certain that this is lawful. In terms of knee-jerk, in fact, what he's proposing to do is go back to where the Canadian law was. Until mm-hmm. 1977, we could revoke revoke citizenship from terrorists and from traitors, mm-hmm. people involved in violent acts of war against Canada. And it's the similar legal provision that exists in almost all of the other Western democracies. Mm-hmm. So I think it's Mr. Ray who's actually being knee-jerk about this.
And towards the end, whatever is being done, any future plans, and with all this, with the changes which are being proposed, as you said, the basic idea is that positive impact is to be felt, and you have started seeing that. But again,
go ahead.
There is a kind of a fear psychosis which is being brought forward. So how would you like to address that, and especially catering to the South Asians?
Well, first of all, in terms of the immediate results, a lot of these changes are going to take time. They're not all coming into place right mm-hmm. away. And the major final reforms that we're making will be incorporated done in 2014, when we adopt what's called the new expression of interest system, mm-hmm. which is similar to what Australia and New Zealand have done. But in terms of short-term results, we see huge improvement in, for example, with the Canadian Experience class that allows foreign students and high-skilled temporary foreign workers to get permanent residency in Canada very quickly. So there are some positive results clearly evident already. In terms of overall the so-called psychosis or fear, I think people should just calm down. Canada is... stop listening to rhetoric, stop listening to rumors, start looking at facts, hard facts. People are entitled, the opposition is entitled to their opinion, they're not entitled to make up facts. And the facts are that since Stephen Harper became Prime Minister, we have had the highest sustained levels of immigration in Canadian history. admitting on average 256,000 permanent residents per year, adding to our population the equivalent of 0.75% of population, the highest per capita level of immigration in the developed world. We have increased, not decreased, the number of people coming through family reunification. Our backlog has gone from 1 million to 600,000. Wait times from 8 years to 3 years on average.
Right.
The super visa has come in. We've fixed the problem. We've cracked down on the problem of fraud marriages. So people should just look at the facts. And if they look at the facts, they'll see that finally there's a government willing to take on a lot of the problems that were able to fester in the system because of cowardly politicians who took a condescending view of our immigrant communities, thinking that they didn't really want an immigration system that worked in the country's interests.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.